Hey everyone, welcome to the HomeTech podcast all about home technology, home automation, and CEDIA. I'm Seth Johnson. I'm coming live from the Denver airport as I exit the state of Colorado and head back to Florida. On the way out of the show yesterday, I did run around like a crazy person, gathering a couple of interviews from some interesting products and things that I saw on the show floor. I didn't have much time this week to collect a bunch of interviews, but I got a few, and I figured I'd just drop them in here and edit them down and send them on out as a special kind of episode, I guess, on my way out of town. So I'm going to just drop each interview in and play them one at a time, and that'll be it. So everyone enjoy, and we'll talk to you next week. Hey, Jason Griffin.
How's it going, Seth?
It's going great.
Yeah.
Have you been busy this show?
We've been really busy. Yeah. It's been a steady flow of traffic through the booth. Obviously, today being Saturday, a little slower, and we're enjoying the break, catch up with guys like you and other friends in the industry. But overall, yeah, it's been a really, really successful show for us.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, we've been the first 2 days. Well, first day was just slammed.
Yeah.
Second day was, I would say, steady, but like rolling steady, right?
Yeah.
You're just getting one ways. And today, of course, is the day everybody leaves and goes out, does other fun things.
Yeah,
but you know,
exactly.
It's meeting day for all the vendors.
Yeah.
And all that good stuff. So
You got it.
yeah. So good show. What's One Vision been up to?
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
Yeah. So just as a recap for people who may not know, One Vision's a provider of service and recurring revenue solutions for integrators. So we're most known for our kind of tier one support offering, which allows integrators to route all those inbound client support requests through our team. US based, all of that support is provided white label, so in the integrator's brand name. We also do a bunch of recurring revenue solutions, so helping integrators market and sell and manage those premium support plans. So this year, kind of the big thing for us has been just a continuation of last year. We announced our flex support packages, so we really kind of revamped our overall product and pricing structure. And I take it like over time, you guys have learned what works, what doesn't, what works for integrators. We've really doubled down on like understanding that the integrator is our customer and that we need to be the most integrator centric support platform out there. So we've over
you're not doing like the same thing over years. Like you change, you adapt.
Yeah.
That's
we're
awesome.
adapting. So we've really grown a lot over the last year. We're continuing to focus on that. And then also we're providing more customizability into the platform. So giving integrators more options to customize how they engage with us, as well as how the memberships that are being sold to their clients could be customized in ways that we didn't previously support. So that's been our big focus, is on, flexibility and empowering integrators.
Awesome, man. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you stopping by.
I'm here with a Curse Tora.
Hora. Yeah, that's right.
With Escape.
Yeah.
You guys make that.
X-Case. Yeah.
X-S-C-A-C-E.
Yeah, X-Case. Yeah.
Perfect. This is one of the coolest products I've seen here.
I hear
And
that.
you've got some really small, tiny speakers with big sound.
Yeah.
And there's a whole lot more with that. So tell me about your product here.
So I'll start with a bit about the story, how we started with this. So this was actually a market research project at University of Toronto. And we sort of figured out the market gap, that how architects and interior designers are the people that are making decisions for homeowners now.
Yeah.
That what will go in the house and what will not.
Absolutely.
Along with having contacts with the vendors and, who to choose. So now they started picking out the smallest speakers they could find, the most beautiful speakers they could find. But then could never find small plus beautiful together most of the time. So you know what? We thought we'll create something. 2 years down.
Well, you did.
Yeah. So 2 years, me and a couple of other of my friends at University of Toronto, we actually came up with a speaker. We created our own driver. We were able to put a passive crossover and a port inside a tiny speaker, which is just like, half an inch thick and just 3.6 inches tall.
Right.
I mean, you could put a coin next to it and
it's like it's palm size. I know it's a podcast. Nobody's going to see this, but we'll point to the website. It's tiny and it sounds great.
I mean, a 15 feet by 15 feet room, it can handle easily.
All right. Yeah.
So just a couple of these with a subwoofer, with a very tiny subwoofer as well. So
and that sub is tiny. It's out of the way. Like all this stuff hides. I think like this is one of those things like you always have problems with in a house, like hooking up a TV and the TV speakers are horrible. But then you have to add a soundbar or something like that on. Yeah. And in most houses, you can get away with that. Some you can't. But this is kind of one of those things. It's like, put this in and you get away with it in all of them, right?
Definitely.
So, and it way better sound.
We do custom colors as well.
Yeah.
So, and custom finishes as well. So, someone comes to us and says, we have, the most weirdest wall, it's a pink color wall or something. We'll probably tell you to go for a rose gold. It'll look amazing. And using the tech behind this, we were able to create, bigger versions of these, which are way louder.
Right, they are.
Size, way louder for their size. They can compete with much bigger speakers, even in terms of frequency response. And that's pretty much it. Also, they're waterproof.
So, I was about to mention that. I see marine tunable too, waterproof. Yeah, so you can use these outdoor on the lie. You're walking around out there, in the evening, and music is coming from somewhere. You're not going to see these. You're not going to see.
Not at all. And what we figured out was, if someone pays money for something, so there's always this thing that has to be tangibility to it. So this is somewhat you can even show, but not actively show as well. So you can even show off with these. Look what I've got in my room, but no one will notice them otherwise as well. So you've got that good balance between those two things.
Exactly. Well, where can people find out more?
So on our website, it's called xcase.com, or you can just type xcase on Google and you figure it out.
Find it. Okay.
You'll find our Instagram and on our website on Google as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Lovely to talk to you.
I'm here with James Grimshaw of Specify. James, how's it going? You have a good show?
We're having a great show. It's been fantastic for us.
It's so busy, man.
It's been really busy. We've had not a time to ourselves.
Yeah. The first day, slammed. Second day, slammed. Today I'm glad to have a break. So. Yeah. Well, of course I say that. It's literally, 2:15. People are picking up and shutting out because the show closes at 3:00. And I'm like, yeah, let me go do some interviews. Let me get that done. So I appreciate taking the time. What's Specify? What you guys doing?
So Specify is a proposal and business management tool. So we do stunning digital proposals that can be tracked on the read receipts, but we can also follow the process through from start to finish.
Awesome.
We have a customer portal, which is a unique offering within the softwares, which allows your customers to interact with you for the remainder of their house life
cycle of the project, or just as long as they're there?
As long as they're there.
Oh, that's awesome.
So with multiple homes, they can log in and manage those homes from that one portal, lodge service requests for you.
Oh, so it's got service management built into it as well. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So we're a fairly new company, and this has been a fantastic show for us. And we're looking forward to catching up with all the leads we've got after the show.
Awesome. Where can people find out more?
People can find out more at Specify, which is SPECIFI.io. Is our website. Come and check us out.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Cheers.
All right. I'm here at the IFP booth with Eric Crawford. Eric, how's it going, man? Had a good show?
Been a great show.
Yeah.
Been a great show. Lots of interest, lots of new leads, lots of people that are excited to move forward with fiber.
Yeah. It's okay. So, in full disclosure, I work at Blackfire. We resell your product too.
Yeah.
The guys have been freaking out and talking about how this is a cool product. I didn't really get it because I just saw the little black boxes you guys make, and I'm like, okay, that looks interesting. I didn't really know what it was, and you were over the booth explaining to a dealer we have what it is and what it does. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, the light bulb in my head clicked. I'm like, okay, what is IFP? What are you trying to solve for there?
Yeah. So IFP is a suite of products that was created by integrators for integrators.
Okay.
This is not created for the consumer. This was created to make an integrator's life easier.
Good.
So we've been pulling the exact same cable, basically category cable, since 1983.
Mm-hmm.
And our industry has relied on that. And I argue that it's time for us as integrators to do better. We need to do a better job serving our clients and a better job preparing the properties that we wire. So what IFP does, it allows, for the first time ever, an integrator to wire an entire property entirely with fiber.
Okay.
And as a result, instead of pulling, for example, 64 strands of copper via category cable, they can pull 4 strands of fiber.
And it's tiny.
It's tiny.
Yeah. And
not only is it tiny, but when you're using fiber, you've now eliminated interference.
Yep.
So now you have no EMI. You actually have a more durable product to install, which most people don't realize. Most people that haven't actually worked with fiber don't realize you can tie it in a knot.
Honestly, I think most are scared of it. I didn't realize some of the products, there's the guys that do the fiber for the telco stuff, and they have the fancy things that wrap around in data centers and that kind of thing. And it may be a different product that we use, because the stuff I use has armored core on it, and you can try and tie it in a knot, but you can't even cut it with a shovel, you know? And I think the technology, from whatever we first glanced at what fiber was back in the day to what it exists today, is completely different.
Yeah. I would say it's almost, I'm a car guy, so it's almost like looking at vehicles 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And judging cars today based on what they were 40 years ago.
Huh.
fiber's like the same thing. If you look at today's fiber, it is more durable, has a higher working load. It's easier to work with. I mean, just look at, if you're looking at IFP, for example, with IFP, we can deliver a 4-port RJ45 wall plate
Okay.
in a total install time of about 3 minutes, start to finish.
I'm laughing because like the time it takes to unbundle all those Cat 5s
Yep.
and like untwist them, cut the stupid little thing, the little
fuzzy
thing. Yeah. But no one uses.
Right.
Like I know what it's used for. No one uses it. To cut that out of there, deal with the spline. Sometimes
Yep.
you're having to deal with the spline, shield, all that stuff.
Yep.
And then finally get to the point where you can undo the things and crimp it all together. I mean, it takes forever. And I didn't realize until I used fiber a couple of years ago how fast the little connectors get.
Yeah.
Like we use Clearline and like you slip it on, it has some gel in there and like you shine a light into it and it looks right. You crimp it down, you close the gate on it. It's crimped on, it's done. You're done. You walk away.
Yeah.
And it's that fast. It's literally under 30 seconds. I was doing these things. And Cat 5, Cat 6 is a minute for me, maybe longer because I'm horrible.
Yeah.
And then I'll get it wrong and have to redo it.
Even the people came by our booth, they said, best case scenario, they're at 3 to 5 minutes per category cable termination.
I could see it. Yeah.
And so if you're doing a 4-port wall plate, that's 8 terminations. Even at the low side of 3 minutes, you're talking almost a half an hour, 25 minutes to terminate those.
Okay.
You can terminate a strand of fiber in a minute and a half. You do 2 terminations with IFP and you have the same solution.
Same bandwidth, yeah.
So 3 minutes versus 24 minutes.
And so let's talk about the solutions you got. And you briefly touched on the 4-port wall plate. It looks exactly like that. It's a 4-port wall plate, but on the backside of it, it's not crimp down stuff. There's a bunch of technology here. What does that do? And then where does it go? What does it go to?
Yeah, so I think it's important to touch on both sides of our transceivers because that was part of the design.
Okay.
So what we didn't want to do is make the experience for the end user different because that puts burden on the integrator.
Okay.
Hey, why does my wall plate look different? Why is it some weird shape? So that's why if you look at our wall plate, it looks exactly like a traditional RJ45 wall plate.
It's a Decora wall plate.
It's a Decora rectangle. So it matches with your Lutron or Savant or Control 4, wall plates that you want to use throughout the job. But on the back side is where we're also different. So we recognize as an integration firm and as an integrator myself of 17 years that we had to make it as simple as possible to allow our integrators to be as successful as possible.
Okay.
Which is why we don't use SFPs. There's no little SFP translator module that you need to click in.
Yeah.
Fiber plugs directly into our module.
Yep.
Which means then technicians don't need to worry about selecting the right SFP for the right fiber, everything else. No. You put your connector on, you snap it into the back, and then on the front side, behind the customer cover, behind that cover are 2 little status lights. So now the technician that's installing it knows at the time of install, without any test equipment, whether that wall plate is ready to go.
It's going, yeah. It's working. Yeah. Everything's good.
Yep. So they test it. They see on their little test lights that's ready to go. They screw it into the wall. They leave that room and they never go back to that wall plate during the job.
And since it's fiber, we're pulling 4 ports over 1 fiber, and there's a gigabit each, right? So that's going back to, you had a hub. We have a hub at our thing.
Yeah.
You bring it back to the hub. The hub plugs into the router switch, whatever is at the head end.
Yeah, very traditional.
Very simple.
Very traditional in that manner. Our dealers typically see a reduction in labor during the pre-wire phase of about 25% because of the simplicity in pulling.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're doing blinking light instead of actual data, you can run right through the same holes as the electrical. And
there's no
interference.
No interference, yeah.
And any inspector that says you can't do that, you can simply show them, hey, this wire is in-wall rated.
Yeah.
And we're sending blinking light, not data.
It's not made out of copper.
Which means we don't need to worry about interference.
Yeah.
And every time that gets presented to an inspector, they look at the low voltage coming and go, yeah, you're right. You're good. And so we see that reduction there. Then obviously the reduction at trim because you're putting on a 60-second fiber connector instead of 1 to 4 punch downs.
Yeah. One of the things you said in our booth when we were talking is that, we pull a lot of this category cable and copper wire for product that like HDMI, HDBaseT extension. And we're pretty much capped at 10 gig on the copper line, right? We're not getting any better with that. We're going to have to go to compression. Fiber kind of opens that back up. Like if we're pulling fiber, and we've always talked about pulling fiber to future-proof homes. We never really did it because it was like, well, we got category 5. And it seems like over the years, manufacturers have solved and kind of worked their way around the weird edge cases of what category cable can do.
Right.
So we've just kind of leaned on that. And But if you're putting the fiber in, in 5-10 years time, you go back to IFP and swap out the module for the next version, whatever.
10 gig, 20 gig, 50 gig, whatever the speed is. And, and this isn't us saying this, just look at Bullet Train. Bullet Train HDMIs are 18 gig.
Yeah.
The only reason they can support 18 gig is because they're fiber.
Fiber card, yeah.
Copper is maxed out at 10.2 gig, no matter what. It doesn't matter which class you use. That's the max you can go over copper.
Right.
So by going over fiber, we are truly future-proofing the property. And I would actually say that our industry, and maybe to throw our own industry under the bus here, I'm saying if we as integrators, if I take off my IFP hat and go back to being an integrator, if we as integrators actually looked at our clients and told them that if we put traditional copper in their house for networking, it is already maxed out.
Yeah.
There's already 10 gig product.
Yeah.
Which means these customers that are saying, this is my forever home, I'm going to be here for 20 years. Do you seriously think that networks will not be faster than 10 gigs over the next 15 or 20 years?
When we're already there, when we're already getting service connections coming in that fast. Yeah.
And we already have 4K. I mean, 4K video takes 18 gig.
Yeah.
And I know on the service provider side, from appointments I've had with actual service providers, they're building out server closets now for service to single family homes in the 800 gigabit speed range. 800 gigabit to the single family home. I know it sounds crazy, but remember, there was a time when 9600 baud internet was considered fast.
Yeah, I remember those.
And that was not that. That was 25 years ago.
Oh, God. Okay. Thanks.
So, I digress.
Yeah. Well, Eric, thanks so much for your time. This is a really cool product. You can hear that the show is shutting down. I was like, I'm going to get some of these interviews done. Let's go get it done. But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Where can people find out more?
Well, definitely, obviously, on your website.
Yeah,
go to Blackwire. A great partner. Those guys are awesome. They, you guys know what you're doing. So you can definitely go there, learn more from them. If you have any technical questions, you just want to learn more about the suite, obviously visit us on YouTube or visit our website, which is just ifpconnect.com.
Awesome. Eric, thanks so much.
Yeah. Take it easy, man.
I'm here at the Anovo booth with Enos Azam. Have you got a good show?
We've had a great show, actually. We've had a really good show. We've had a lot of good turnouts, a lot of interest in our products. They provide a solution that was not easily attainable in the industry before. Our Magic Cube leverages the power of open source home automation software like Home Assistant, and with a couple of other plugins on top, and that then allows us to provide all the drivers that are available on Home Assistant to home control systems like NICE and Control4 and RTI. It is huge. It is, something that, we're riding on the shoulders of giants.
Literally.
And we're bringing it to the pro market for people to use on a regular basis.
I traditionally have a background in the pro market. I've been doing stuff in the pro market for about 20 years now. Home Assistant was on my radar. I've seen Paulus here at the show, right? So as far as an integrator, as the integrators I talk to, it's not really, they may have heard of it. They may have seen a picture of it or some of the CE Pro story randomly of it. And most of them really have never heard of it. They don't know what it is. What were you finding here at the show today? Because it's a different world than
same thing that you just said. Most people don't know what it is. Most people, once they know what it is, and some of them who have heard of it are scared of it because it's a do-it-yourself. It's DIY. It's used to be a tinker's platform, but now, quite honestly, they connect things better than a lot of professionals do.
It's bigger.
And so it's bigger. It's open source. You've got thousands of developers working on it. Why not leverage that? In the process, help everybody out.
I was talking to Agnes over at Zoos. Yesterday at a meeting. And one thing that she said that stood out to me was like, nobody in here, not Control4, Crestron, anyone, not you, not me. No one can afford to hire 40,000 developers to work on their platform. It's just a big wave that's coming.
Oh, absolutely. And then, so we basically have taken it, and the dealers were looking for, Home Assistant, it's a learning curve.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's a learning curve. It's a scary world. I've been playing with it for years, and I still feel like I'm not really competent enough in it. But all
I can do, honestly, is update it. That's a joke on our podcast. Every week when we're talking about it, I'm like, I need to update it.
Yeah, 4 updates a month.
Yep.
So what we do is we have bridged that gap. We provide Home Assistant. We provide training on how to use it.
Oh, cool.
We provide any troubleshooting, any issues. So the dealers rely on us for support, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
These professional home automation dealers, they want to go in, they want to finish the job, they want to use the tools that they need to connect and make the homeowner happy without spending any extra time that they don't have to. And when it breaks, they need to know that they can call somebody to fix it. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
We
Absolutely.
provide that bridge we give them the comfort of knowing that there is somebody behind this product. And we have a good reputation in the industry. Then people say, okay, you know what? If you believe in it, we'll try it. And so far, the trial has been amazing.
What's your background?
Science, math.
Oh, have you been in the integration background, or just like in computers and IT?
I've been doing this Innovo IT stuff since 1997. I got into integration about 18 years ago, and that's what I do.
So
it's
now you're here with the booth, right? Now you're spending money.
Absolutely, I was spending a lot of money.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Where can people find out more about Innovo?
Innovo.net. INNOVO.net.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a good one, Seth.
I'm here at the Network Thermostat booth with Jerry Drew. Jerry, how's it going?
Man, it's been a fantastic show.
That's going to be my question.
Yeah, it's been like trying to take a drink of water through a fire hose.
You guys have a really good spot. You're right on the main aisle.
Yeah,
next to Vanco, next to what is this, Barco next to us? Oh my gosh, yeah. So I mean, traffic by you guys had been crazy.
Not bad for a thermostat company in the middle of an AV show that's busier than the AV guys.
There you go. I mean, the thing is, like, you have it stuck out on the front. You got a beautiful thermostat here. I'm sure people were like, "Hey, what's this about?"
Well, we've been in business 30 years.
Okay.
We invented the communicating thermostat. We actually started in the CEDIA marketplace in 1995.
Oh wow!
And at that time, it was, hey, next year is a year for home automation.
Right. Yeah.
1996, same thing. Next year is a year for home automation.
It's going to happen, guys.
and at that point, we said, we're going commercial. In 96, we decided, you know what, we need to go commercial. So we went commercial, and we've stayed commercial. And over the years, we've done private label deals and custom deals for everybody on the planet. We do everything from the smallest buildings on the planet, which are telco bunkers at the bottom of cell towers, to the Burj Khalifa. Honeywell actually came to us for that design because they couldn't figure out how to network 3,600 devices in that building on a single network.
Wow.
So that was a fun gig.
It was.
We do all Chick-fil-A and all kinds of commercial stuff in every vertical you can imagine.
Amazing.
So we're in hospitality, manufacturing, worship facilities, school systems, and on and on and on.
And so you're bringing all that knowledge and technology back into the home market. It seems with this new cool looking thermostat. I like it because we're right up top. You got API written all over it. So I know it integrates with everything. I mean, RTI, Elan, AMX, Crestron, everything's on here. Everything you can think of is on here. You've also got connections into the business stuff like BACnet. You've got Modbus on there. Everything is on here. What doesn't this connect to? Like, really?
Well,
have you found anything that doesn't connect?
Well, we're continuing to add stuff because we listen to our customers a lot. So as an example, our remote sensor bus, everybody else kind of has a remote sensor for temperature.
Right.
Well, ours is a bus with temperature and humidity, and you can automatically average up to 6 of those on a thermostat, plus auxiliary temp sensors for doing things like walk-in freezers, refrigerators, wine rooms.
So you can hang 6 devices off of this one.
More than that, just 6 for indoor remote sensors. Plus, you can put 6 water leak sensors with 12 water leak probes. So here's cool. So why would you want to do all that stuff? Well, it's because we have an engine built into the thermostat for text message and email.
Yeah.
And we have 21 different alerts that allows them to go out in case there's an issue,
right,
as well as take action on that. As an example, you get a water leak, we can shut down the equipment, hit another relay on the thermostat, and close the water valve.
Right.
So
it's a little bit of automation built into it.
Yeah, it's an HVAC and light automation system in a thermostat.
It's very cool.
And it is got a built-in web server.
Yeah.
We have Wi-Fi and Ethernet versions. Okay. So you never have to hit the cloud with any of these network or controllers that you were talking about. Every one of them can talk directly on the local network.
Right.
And because of the capabilities that's built into the thermostat, even if the network goes down, the entire thermostat will continue to operate with all its schedules on and on and on.
As you expect it to.
As you would think, but doesn't happen in most products.
No. Every time you leave town, the power goes out of the house and the air conditioner goes on the fritz and doesn't turn back on. Guess Infocom.
Yeah.
No air conditioner. My wife's calling me. Guess what happened 2 days ago? No air conditioner.
Oh,
My
my
wife's calling me.
goodness.
Like we're flipping breakers and getting everything back on. But I mean, yeah.
So we have actually battery backup on the real-time clock that's on
Yeah.
the unit. And it lasts about 4 days.
That would be
without
much
power.
better than.
Yeah.
Well, Jerry, thanks so much for taking a few minutes here to chat with us at the very end of the show. I really do appreciate it. Where can people find out more?
Networkthermostat.com.
All right. Easy enough to remember there. There you go.
Kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, all in one there. Well,
All right.
thanks so much, Jerry. Have a
Thanks.
great show.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that's going to end the interviews that I was able to get done before the end of the day. I just want to say it was definitely a fun show. It was very, very busy for most of the week. We had quite a bit to do on the booth once we got there because of some construction delays when it happened, I guess, the week before, and it just kind of put everybody behind. So it was a little bit of a rush to get things put together. But once we did, it was kind of nice to get everything all set up and ready for the show and ready for everybody to come see us at our booth. I will say, it was great seeing everybody who was able to come by the booth, and especially everyone who was able to make it out to the Home Tech Happy Hour. Definitely glad to, and thanks so much for Chow Mein being a sponsor. Chow Mein, of course, has a driver marketplace with just about every module you'd absolutely have to have for, I think it was one of any number of 9 automation systems that exist out there. So anything and everything they've got over there. So we'll put links to them again in the show notes. Thank you so much, Alan, Richard, everyone over there at Chow Mein for contributing and actually coming out and bringing some more people into the Home Tech Happy Hour. It was a good time. It's a little bit smaller this year because we didn't have the big jar, of course, of Gavin and TJ. But the group that was able to make it out was great. And it was exactly like the nice, low key, relaxing event that I think I was hoping for. Like it was nice just to see everybody that was able to come out and just chill, have a drink, have a bit to eat, have a good conversation, and then head on into the night. I think a couple of guys went to, I think there's an origin party that night. I think we were kind of competing against the CEDIA awards, right? So those were going on at the same time. But everyone who was able to come out, I think had a great time, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of those in the future. Alan is definitely interested; he loves these things, so hopefully next year we'll be able to put our heads together and maybe just a little bit more marketing over the last couple of months to get more people out to the show and get some more sponsors locked down. But again, thank you, Alan. Thank you, Chow Mein. And everybody go out and check out the Chow Mein marketplace. If you need a driver, a module for your home automation system, they probably got it. I do want to kind of touch on some news that I kind of ran across while I was at the show. Of course, my interviews are always going to be from the small booths. I don't even really go to the big booths. I kind of walk by them and kind of look over and acknowledge kind of what's going on in the craziness. But there's a couple of them I did want to get to. I didn't that I guess would be big, but are still kind of small in the industry. The Josh AI booth, I did want to pop in and say hi to the group there. It looked like they were just some really cool stuff with AI, and just kind of wanted to see what they're up to. I think they released a new touchscreen too, which is kind of cool. And the Ava booth, I was up front. I did wave and see Raphael a couple of times, but things were just so busy. He was always in a conversation with someone, showing off the remote over there. Didn't have a chance to walk by and say hi, but I did go check out their booth, and I did talk to some people up at the front, and they were actually nice enough to hand off some swag that I could bring to the happy hour. So there were a couple of shirts and stickers and things from Ava there too. So special thanks to them for doing that too. And but I do where we were, Unify was right next to us, and of course I started getting little text messages like, "Hey, can you check out what's going on in Unify?" And I kind of already had the first thing, of course, I did was go over to the Unify amplifier and see how exactly the little knob touchscreen thing worked, and if it actually popped off. It turns out, I guess the conspiracy is over. The knob is firmly attached to the front of the amplifier. It does not move off, and you can't pull it off. And it's actually a lot smaller, I think, than the imaging on their website makes it out to look. I don't know. I mean, those look more like renderings, I think. In person, it's about the same size as a Sonos amplifier. Little knob thing does not at all look like an S thermostat. It looks like maybe a little miniature version of one, or a cute little version of one. I guess if it looks more like the cross between their touchscreens they have on their switches and an S thermostat, if you would. like if you put a dial around it, right? Because it makes sense when you're using it to kind of like touch it and turn up and down the volume. On the front of those amplifiers, I may have a picture of the rack I include in the show notes where it had like a few of those amplifiers stacked up on top of each other, on some rack shelves. Again, they don't have rack ears for these things. They just have rack shelves you stick them on. So they're kind of like a little out of place. But I think what they're going for here is just kind of like a proof of concept for like small business who may need some background music, that kind of thing. And probably more often than not, it's going to end up in somebody's home, hooked up to their TV for better sound, which, that makes sense. There are a couple of things that weren't really announced outside that amplifier. We've already talked about that last week because, they announced it and they announced the Pro AV stuff. We talked about that pretty in depth last week. But at the show, they were actually had some things that they didn't announce. And one of them, as they were setting up, I looked over and they have this big giant Unify rack sitting there. And I kind of went over and talked to someone named Jared or Jason or something like that. He was a nice guy out of Texas, works for Unify. And I was like, hey, what's this rack about? He's like, oh yeah, it's not out yet or not released. And, it's a big branded, AV rack or really networking rack. It looks like it was made for networking centers and that kind of thing. But they have a big giant rack thing that you can get with rack rails in the front and back. Looks like the data rack I have at my house, except it was big, giant, and Unify white with the big U on the side of it. Looked nice. Actually looked clean with all the equipment that they ended up putting into it. So they did a great job setting up that display. But one thing I noticed while I was walking around, when I looked at the side, they had the panel off, and there's something in there with rack rails. I'm like, what in the world could that be? I walked up to it. They have a new Enterprise NVR, which made total sense to me. And I looked on the front, and it had 16 port bays, I guess, for hard drives. I was like, oh, okay, it's just a big version of their Unify NVR. It probably has beefed up horsepower inside, decent power supplies or something like that. And I looked on the back, not just a couple of ports, for networking and the power cord. What isn't anything unexpected? And then as I'm walking through the show, I look over and holy cow, there is a faceplate that goes on the front of these things, and I can't describe how over the top, like just extra it is. There's like LEDs in the front of this thing. It's got a touch screen on the front, a big wide touch screen. I'll have to put a picture of it. It'll probably be the show art, honestly, for this show, because wow, if not like having an Enterprise NVR is good enough, like to put these like RGB LEDs on there. I mean, it looked amazing. It just made it look special, and I think that's what they were going for. The bigger announcement I didn't hear about because I was hearing about it from being reported on sites like Reddit and over in the Slack chat that we have, the hub. I think the big news from them is they were going to have OnVIF support coming to the Protect line within the next month. They had a third-party camera. It looked like a rail link. It was way, way up on top of this massive 168 panel screen they had behind their booth. Couldn't really tell what it was. But they pointed up to it and said, yeah, that's third-party camera. It's hooked in and you can see the image right here on the screen. And man, that is huge news for anybody who is a fan of the Protect line, which I am, but also who is not a fan of the cameras insofar as like they're not really the best cameras for the money. They don't have a lot of the newer features, especially when it comes to the lensing and image capturing sensors. Some of the UniView cameras we sell at work have these like super wide angle lenses, or they have like night vision where you can see basically color in the dark. They look absolutely stunning. And if I go switch between the image I'm getting off that and look at what I'm getting off my Unify cameras, which are probably double the cost, if I'm being quite honest, of what the basic, I would say basic, but what the UniView cameras are doing. It's kind of like, wow, I really wish I could get a better image on the system because the app and everything are so easy to use. It works so well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that brings to the Protect line. I not too many details other than it's going to come in the next month. There's some rumors floating around that it was only going to be for Axis cameras, or I don't even know where that came from. Somebody posted on Reddit. I saw like when this was announced that they were going to be able to do OnVIF camera, and they put like a picture of Axis cameras. I have no idea why they did that, but maybe that's the only OnVIF cameras they know of. Maybe that's where it comes from. I don't know. I had no I didn't even, that wasn't even a question that came up, and it was not expressed in any way, shape, or form that way. And I do not think, I think this is any on-VIF camera. I don't even think you could restrict it to particular camera models. If it's on-VIF compliant, that's pretty much a standard, and you're going to get an image out of it. You're going to get the stream and all that stuff out of it. So I'm hoping that we'll see some pretty tight integration with that. I'm wondering further, like if you're going to get on-VIF events brought in where you can trigger automations and that kind of thing. Because some of the cameras actually through the on-VIF events can expose some of their like AI features and that kind of thing. Probably not as tightly integrated as the Unify cameras, but it'll be something, and you'll have a better picture going into the Protect system. And you know what? This is going to be great. It's going to help Unify sell a bunch more NVRs, I am sure, especially for places that have particular cameras, like particular cameras that they have already bought into, and they would like to switch over to the Protect line, but they can't do it because it would be a massive investment to change out their entire building or whatever to Unify cameras, which may not have the features they need. So I'm curious to see how this plays out, and hopefully it's as good as news. I think it's pretty major news. Some other things that they had that they really didn't show off. I didn't really hear anybody talking about. It talked about the enterprise NVR. I mean, everybody showed that off, but I think one of the bigger things is with the enterprise line, at least for integrators, they're going to start offering some kind of margin with them. That's been the complaint for most integrators and resellers out there, that Unify doesn't really provide you with any margin on the product to make any money. I mean, you can go and buy it and sell it or whatever, and you end up marking it up, and that's just the installed price. It's a good product, but the installed price is going to be more than you can buy it online. There you go, done. Most of the integrators I talk to say, oh yeah, well, there's not any margin in that. I'm going to go with something that has margin. It looks like they're trying on this. On the enterprise stuff, there's actually going to be about 30 points margin from what the conversation I was having. And there's going to be a special program that's through Unify where you go in and I guess you register for it or something like that. So it does look like they are dipping their toe into supporting the integration markets a little bit more, security markets a little bit more in a traditional sense with some of their higher end flagship products. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few years, because I'm sure that program has to get some legs underneath it before they can start running it into other products. And of course, it's not going to be the same products that are have general availability. It'll be some kind of special enterprise product that you can probably still buy through the Unify website. I mean, I fully suspect that the enterprise NVR will be available on their website, probably for like, I don't know, $1,000 or something. I don't know. It's going to be ridiculous, but it does look amazing. Absolutely amazing. I kind of want one. Like I have the NVR and it serves my needs completely. I don't need another NVR, but if they're going to support these on-VIF cameras, I might need one. Especially if I start getting a lot of 4K cameras and be able to integrate those into an NVR, I might need the more space. So we'll see how it works out. Hopefully it's not more than $1,000. Hopefully it's just a few $100s, because that's what Unify is pretty famous for doing. So anyway, let's move on from them. Let's talk about Control 4 a little bit, because I think as we were going to the show, I didn't really think there was going to be any big news coming out of the company. Obviously, Snap One is integrated into ADI at this point. There were two booths there, one big giant Snap One booth on the floor, which had the same, I think they call it Better Together or something like that, signage. And then they had a smaller ADI where ADI would have been. They have a little small booth. And that booth was set up in the traditional sense that ADI usually had. It just had like little meeting tables around it, no product or anything. I guess that's what ADI usually does. You look at the plans for next year, there's no ADI booth. There's no Snap One booth. It's basically ADI. Like I think next year, I'm really curious to see what they do. Like if they discontinue the use of the Snap One brand and just, move everybody over to ADI and show off all the parts and pieces and everything that they have in that company. I'm curious as to how that's going to play out because the Snap One booth is actually pretty impressive. How they laid out all the products that Snap One and ADI were able to offer these days as a big giant booth. Going into the show though, for Control 4 at least, I thought, really the only news coming out of them was going to be that, like the merger. Here we are, merger. We've got the Better Together signage up, and Apple Music. It's been a rumor for a while. They did release the Apple Music, but right before the show, they announced this new X4. I guess what they're calling their new OS. So it's called X4, Control 4 X4. And I guess, instead of calling it Control 4 OS 4, it's just going to be called X4, and we'll go out from version numbers from there. Has a whole new interface, which looks very familiar. I mean, I guess very familiar. I will say it looks more updated. It's more modern and in line with what you would expect to see from a control and home automation system in the in the 2020s. Just leave it at that. It definitely looked good from what I was able to see. Some of the press images that were sent out and CE Pro and that kind of thing. One of the bigger things I think that was announced, and I heard mixed feedback on this from dealers, and I'm not sure why, but you're going to have like a native HomeKit integration. So right now, if you use a third-party driver, I think you have to have a Homebridge server set up somewhere. You can integrate your Control4 system directly into HomeKit, and it works great. I mean, I've been using that for a very long time. I heard a lot of feedback from dealers like why would I do that? I'm not going to do that. But man, I got to say, it's probably the best and fastest way you can get in and control some of your lights. And if it has first-party integration and you're not relying on, a third-party developer to release a driver and maintain it and that kind of thing, obviously they were able to get the Apple Music thing done and wrapped up. This thing looks like it will be pretty good too. They'll be able to integrate directly from a Control4 system into HomeKit. Great. I'm all for it. And you know what? The interface is super snappy. You just swipe over or tell Siri or whatever to do something and it does it. That's great. And if it's first party, even better. So that's nice. Hopefully we'll see that. Well, I guess it all comes with this new X4 platform. They're also going to have new widgets that they've designed for the home screen. So kind of I guess for Android and iOS, there's the concept of having widgets on your home screen. So they're going to be pushing that out with their app updates. Just basically, it's going to be basically a new interface and a new app experience that you'll have to upgrade to in the App Store. People who are still on the OS 3 versions will, maintain themselves on that OS 3 and need to, I guess, have a new Connect subscription to upgrade to OS 4. That's kind of how they're going to kind of kill off, I guess, what remains of OS 3. And if you're wondering how they're going to kill off the rest of what remains of Foresight, it looks like they're going to be discontinuing some of the Foresight services. I want to say I read 2025. I don't really know the exact date, quite honestly, offhand. It was not really in any of the press releases, but some of the dealers were showing me the press, the information that was being provided to them. But anything running way back, older systems that are running 210 and Foresight and still connected out to cloud services, those integrations are going to be discontinued and cut off basically and shut down. So there's going to be some upgrade opportunities, or if you're a customer who relies on that, you're going to need to upgrade your Control4 system in the future to the new X4 platform. And that's the one where you're going to pay, I guess it's a yearly subscription fee to basically use any local iPad device or any connected device outside of the Control4 ecosystem, as well as remotely can connect in with any one of those devices as well. So it will be interesting to see how all that plays out and what dealers are doing. I will say that from the conversations I had, Elan definitely has some, or I guess what you call it, nice. I stopped by their booth before the show opened on the second day and talked to my contact there. They've got voice control, native integrated voice control with the remotes. Looked awesome. They have new touchscreens, look amazing. And on the new touchscreens, they have a new interface. And just a beautiful interface, kind of. And it's shipping, I guess. The Control4 interface is coming out later in the year. Or I guess Q1, I guess it's supposed to go into early access, not even a beta, but early access. So I'm kind of wondering, I kind of feel like the big announcement with the X4 thing was kind of a reaction to the Elan actually releasing or showing off a new interface that has some legs to it, because it looked gorgeous. So great job. For all we've heard for the last couple of months, years, I guess, that NICE is just all in. They're throwing all this tons and tons of money into the Elan ecosystem, and it's starting to show. We're starting to see it pay off. So that's exciting. I saw that Crestron Home got a major update, includes some new features that I kind of needed to check what year it was. I feel like the announcement, I was getting trolled by some of those announcements because, well, let's just go this is the big headlining features. There's now if-then logic for dealers to program custom routines for their clients. I didn't even know that was missing. Honestly, that feels like table stakes, and I just don't get it. They announced full Ketra lighting support, and that's good. That's good. Lutron Ketra is a big platform, and it's very popular, especially in high-end homes that I would expect to see Crestron or Crestron Home installed into. So that's great. They have new door lock features and management. I guess you can manage pin codes from their touchscreens now, which is again something I would consider table stakes. But okay, just in time for 2024, there's a new driver module for MyQ, which okay, just in time. Good job. Adjustable lighting fade rates. It's not. I can't even believe this is a feature, but it was fixed at 3 seconds and not anymore. And you could use any value. No, wait, nope. I'm being corrected here. You can use any value between 1 and 10 seconds. Okay. Integration with Sonos soundbars. Again, 2024. I thought these were table stakes. And they have some reports. I honestly, I read this press release and I thought it was being trolled. Like I've seen the Crestron Home stuff. I've seen how popular it was. Like I've seen dealers kind of talk about it and say, oh yeah, look, works great in my home, that kind of thing. I've never actually had hands-on experience with programming it. Mostly because like they really don't have any plan or program for programmers like myself who are not Crestron dealers to go in and get set up and program for the system. So I've really never been able to get my hands on it. I'm hoping that we see that in the future, where we'll be able to do that because it's just there's definitely politics involved in that, and hopefully one day they'll get over it and open up the integrations and everything. I was talking to some developers at the HomeTech Happy Hour, and it definitely does sound like the Crestron world is still a little bit behind in some of the ways that I guess the development works and how things go. And I guess that's good. That's only going to be good for so much longer. You know, that Innovo interview I had earlier in the show really stood out to me as something that I think most dealers should pay attention to. Because if we have these companies that are sticking their head in their sand and pretending like it's the 1980s and 90s, which, you know, don't get me wrong, having highly trained, very specialized programmers for these systems really did work in the 80s and 90s and probably the early 2000s. That is no longer the case anymore. Anyone can go out, grab Home Assistant, integrate. I mean, every one of these features they probably have on Home Assistant. It's laughable, and it's been working for, I don't know, years. I'm sure it's laughable to think that this is something I can't. Again, I read this press release, I read the features, and I'm like, am I being trolled? Like, this cannot be the flagship features of a brand new OS that they're rolling out in 2024. Man, how embarrassing. So I'm hoping they're able to move out of whatever political or what's keeping them stuck in the 90s. Like, honestly, this platform looks amazing. It's definitely being developed correctly. It looks like it's a very forward-thinking development. But if they are still locking themselves out of third-party development, if they're still which I can attest to, if they are still locking themselves out of features like If Then and, you know, Sonos soundbar integration until the year 2024, wow. I don't know. I can see why there's so much headwind behind platforms like Elon. You know, like wow. There's going to be some wind in that sails if that's where things are going. So anyway, not to end on a negative note, but that's about all I have for the show. It was a good show. I really had a great time, especially sitting on the booth, meeting everyone. I was constantly talking to people for 2 days straight. There really wasn't any downtime to go around and see very much. I was able to kind of scoot around maybe the last hour or two of the show on Saturday after I got out of some meetings, and chat with people and see some of the new stuff. So the big CC screen set up, and I took a few pictures. I'll put those in the show notes as well. Kind of put it in a gallery or something like that so you can check them out. But I wasn't able to really escape too much from the booth just because we were so busy for 2 days straight. And, again, on Saturday, that's when vendors and everything, other partners come in and we sit down and have good meetings because it's nice and quiet and everybody can take a breath and set those meetings up for Saturday and just kind of like go around and chat with each other. So anyway, that's it from CEDIA. I'm actually in Charlotte, North Carolina, waiting on a connecting flight. And so I should have this wrapped up and published hopefully before, I land. I don't know. We'll see what the Wi-Fi on the plane is like, but, fun show. And again, thanks Chow Mein for supporting the HomeTech Happy Hour. Definitely appreciate that. And with that, that's going to wrap up everything for CEDIA 2024. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
We're going commercial.
The show is now closed. As a reminder for exhibitors, please keep the aisles clear until
go. The cheering.
Once that happens, we can start furthering your energy. We'll see you next year.